Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, property owners frown at a proposed foster home and find out why Oxford Township water rates have increased.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. It was a packed house at the Oxford Township meeting this week as residents expressed opposition to a proposed foster care residence planned to be built on over 100 acres off Barber Road, also known as the former Hunter's Ridge farmland. Purchased by Jason and Maggie Dunn for $800,000, the land is zoned agricultural property with designated use as single-family farm homes. Dunn's, however, plan to partner with Detroit-based House of Providence to build a youth foster home to provide a therapeutic and family-friendly environment for kids who are victims of abuse and neglect and who are unable to find a permanent home for the family. The plans include 3 ranch homes on the property as well. Surrounding property owners object to the request for special use. Expressing such a designation would be total disregard for the zoning intent and for the current residents who live there. At this time, no decision has been made to issue permits to the new owners.
With a 7-0 vote, Oxford Township increased water rates by 30 cents for every 100 cubic feet of water used above the 1,500 cubic foot minimum. Oxford Township Supervisor Bill Dunn explained the vote was justified, saying the township is only passing along the increase imposed by the Oakland County Water Resource Commission. Benjamin
B. Stapp, an employee of the Oxford Fire Department since 2006, has been promoted from sergeant to shift captain. BJ responded with, he has always enjoyed helping people and didn't want a desk job. He said he wanted something where he could be out in the community and face everyday challenges. Fire Chief Pete Schultz submitted the promotional request to the trustee board, who then approved the chief's request unanimously.
Well, it's official. The Village of Leonard put on another very successful Strawberry Festival last weekend, getting its kickoff start with an annual parade. Festival goers were then treated to a fantastic strawberry sundae dished up with loving proportions by the Leonard volunteer firefighters. Main Street was lined with vendors selling specialty crafts, while kids couldn't wait to go on the rides and pet the small animals at the petting zoo. If you missed it, you can catch it on OCTV or Oxford Community Television YouTube, or you can go to our website occtv.org and click on the program tab. Enjoy.
And last week, Pastor Liz Wilson, parishioners and friends from the Emmanuel Congregational United Church of Christ enjoyed the outdoors Prayer for Peace rally at the Oxford Centennial Park. The pastor referred to violent events occurring in worldwide scene, and she communicated to those who attended that your peace radiates from each individual and extends to friends and neighbors and communities. It seems Pastor Wilson got her message across. As we always say at the end of each news broadcast, remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors.
The Oxford Township Library always has activities for both adults and children, and last week they sponsored story time in the park. Check out how focused Olivia and Jake McCaffrey are. Kids and parents gathered in Centennial Park, stretched out on the grass, and were captivated by the stories read by library personnel. Don't be shy, stop by the library and join in on their very special programming.
Village Police Chief Mike Niemanowski expressed appreciation for support of Oxford Village officers who work here. Everyone knows of all the tragedy in the nation where officers are being disrespected and, worse yet, killed due to some deep-rooted, misdirected hatred by a few deranged individuals. Niemanowski said, Oxford Police received a box of donuts last week with a note saying, "We love our police." It was also noted Oxford Police also received letters and posters from the community saying that thanks for keeping us safe. We need to keep our officers safe too, wouldn't you agree? This is one more reason to believe Oxford is a great place to live and raise a family.
A local golf club was vandalized last week at the 15th hole, but alert employees helped lead police to the possible suspect. While the damage was minor, employees reported seeing a man trespassing on the property many times and appeared to be the last person seen at the 15th. The man was quickly located and issued a ticket for trespassing.
Police were called to a Hummer Lake Road group home to assist locating a missing resident. The woman living at the facility is on medication for depression and schizophrenia. The woman was eventually found safe at a home in Brandon Township and returned to the group home.
Well, that's it for Oxford News this week. If you want to learn more about these stories and others, stop by your local store and pick up a copy of, you know what, the Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, catch us right here at OCTV Charter Channel 99 and AT&T Charter Channel 99.
And coming up next on OCTV, Oxford Sports with Jamie Hughes, and also catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. And don't miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Watch one of the longest running programs on OCTV, Our Community Access, every day at 9:30 and 5:30. Hosted and produced by Bill Service. Our Community Access, keeping it local.
All today on Our Community Access.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, NASA wants an orbiter worthy of human missions to Mars. The agency has given contracts to 5 engineering companies, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Orbital ATK, and Space Loral, to demonstrate what kind of spacecraft each one can build for a potential mission in the 2020s. Today's Mars orbiters are vital for relaying data from rovers back to Earth. To support a human mission, the next generation will need to be superior in terms of propulsion, imaging capabilities, and communication. Solar electric propulsion will be the key to their design. Already in use in Earth-orbiting satellites, it works by harnessing the sun's energy to accelerate ions propelling the craft. Future orbiters must be able to fly close to the Martian surface to get high-resolution pictures of good landing sites. NASA would also like to see orbiters that can return to Earth with Martian samples sent up by capsule from a planned rover. Wow. Back on Earth, hummingbirds have a unique collision avoidance system built into their brains that allows them to perform high-speed aerobatics in safety. The super agile birds, whose wings beat up to 70 times a second, can hover, fly backwards, and whiz through dense vegetation at more than 43 miles an hour. How they manage to avoid potentially fatal crashes has remained a mystery until now. Researchers in Canada conducted a series of experiments which showed that the birds process visual information differently from other animals. As they dart and dive at speed, they judge distance from the way looming objects appear to get bigger and vice versa. Other animals, from bees to human motorists, calculate distances from the rate at which objects cross their field of vision. Hence, a car driver can tell that telephone poles are near because they pass by swiftly. Conversely, faraway buildings take more time to move across the visual field, giving an impression of distance. For this reason, it is difficult to judge the closing speed of an object you are approaching head-on, a lesson taught to all aircraft pilots. Birds fly faster than insects, and it's more dangerous if they collide with things, says lead researcher Rosalind Dakin from the University of British Columbia. We wanted to know how they avoid collisions and found that hummingbirds use their environment differently than insects to steer a precise course. To study the hummingbirds, Dakin's team placed the birds in a specially designed tunnel and projected striped grid patterns on the walls to simulate near, distant, and moving objects. A perch was set up at one end of the tunnel and a sugar feeder at the other. 8 cameras tracked the birds' movements as they flew to and from the 5.5-meter tunnel. When the scientists simulated the telegraph pole effect with vertical moving stripes, the hummingbirds didn't react. Instead, they appeared to rely on the size of objects to determine distance, steering away from the stripes as they grew larger. When objects grow in size, it can indicate how much time there is until they collide, even without knowing the actual size of the object, says Dakin. Perhaps the strategy allows birds to more precisely avoid collisions over the very wide range of flight speeds they use and not run into things. In our last story, Russia is facing a complete ban from the Rio Olympic Games following a damning investigation into doping claims made against Russian athletes competing at major international events over the past 5 years. The competitions included the 2012 London Olympics, the Sochi Winter Olympics in 2014, the 2013 World University Games in Kazan, and the 2013 IAAF World Championships in Moscow. Media revelations about the scale of doping first appeared in May, based on evidence from Grigory Rodchenkov, former director of the lab in Moscow where the athlete samples were handled, which was accredited by the World Anti-Doping Agency. He is now in hiding in the U.S. The investigation, whose results were released this week, were launched in the wake of Rodchenkov's allegations. Authored by Canadian law professor Richard McLaren, it claims that the Russian sports ministry devised complex systems to prevent, that is, urine samples from testing positive and secretly administer cocktails of steroids to athletes prior to competitions. The most damning findings involved a scam in the testing labs at the Sochi Olympics, and with full involvement of the FSB, the State Security Service, which used a mouse hole drilled in the wall of the laboratory to swap dope samples of Russian competitors for clean ones. Russia went on to claim 33 medals in Sochi. The International Olympic Committee, which met on July 19th to discuss the revelations, expressed its dismay at the findings. They show a shocking and unprecedented attack on the integrity of sport and the Olympic Games, says IOC President Thomas Bach in a statement. Therefore, the IOC will not hesitate to take the toughest sanctions available against any individual or organization implicated. I wonder what's going to happen after that. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
Oxford Orient Fish helps provide emergency aid to the people of Oxford, Ligorian, Addison, and Oakland Townships. One of the only self-served food banks in the state, Oxford Orient Fish provides once-a-month food supplies based on the size of the family. To donate, volunteer, or to find out more, call Oxford Orient Fish at 248-628-3933 or go to their website, oxfordorientfish.org. Oxford Orient Fish. Neighbors helping neighbors.
Welcome to the Oxford Wildcat School Update. As we go through the summer, technology is still on the forefront. Fine-tuning of technology, that is, so that when things start to roll again in the fall, parents, kids, teachers, and administration will have access to what is going on and when. As you walk into the superintendent's office, you'll find Debbie Fox at her desk. Debbie is one of those behind-the-scenes people who helps keep the technical side of things rolling. She describes her job.
I'm responsible for a lot of the sophomore programs that we use for the district, and some teacher training, some staff training, that type of thing. I help parents and students too with some of our software programs.
When you were 15 years old, did you ever think you'd really be doing something like this?
No. I mean, I thought maybe teaching, but no, nothing like this. Yeah, I'm old enough that we had the old IBM where you punch cards. So. Yeah,
I know the addressograph, multigraph.
Right.
How long have you been with Oxford now?
I have been with Oxford for 24 years now.
So if you have kids in school, you probably know what Power School is, right? But what about the rest of us?
Power School is our student information system. A lot of the information on our students is kept there. Demographics, address, telephone numbers, emergency contacts. It also is where their classes are stored, grades and attendance are stored. Power School is where the teachers can go into and put in grades and mark attendance. Power School can be viewed by parents and students, so they can go in and look at their grades and their attendance.
So parents can kind of keep an eye on how things are going and whether or not the homework gets done and
Exactly.
how the test scores are coming in.
So you can go in and look at the final grade. You can click on the final grade, and that will give you a view into the teacher's grade book. So you can see, did my student turn in their assignment? What was that marked? How did they do on the last test that they took?
Now, if we'd have had this when our kids were going to school, we'd have grounded them a lot more, right?
That's it. Exactly.
Just a guess, how many years has this sort of information been available online?
We've been using PowerSchool since 2007. Before that, we used a program called GradeQuick, and it gave you a tad of that information, but not as much as we have now.
A new school year means updates.
On our school website, if you are a new parent, you can go into the enrollment section here on the top, and this is just the Oxford School website at oxfordschools.org.
I'm going to zoom in on that right now.
Okay. So here we have our enrollment screen, and you can click here to enroll your student, whether they're just coming into the school for the first time or they're coming from the preschool to the school. We also have our virtual academy registration here. So you can go in and you can click on this, and you can go in and see all the information you're going to need. You click here, and it will tell you what you need to do to enroll your student. You have to bring in birth certificate, proof of residency, all that information. But you can also go in before you do that, and you set up your enrollment ID and password here, and you can go in and put in your information, your address, your telephone number, all your students' medical conditions perhaps, and then you can set an appointment online with our central enrollment office, and you can make that appointment. Then you come in and bring the proof of insurance, your birth certificate, and then we'll get you all registered.
Now, there are certain things that need to be updated that they can't update online. Is that correct?
Correct. They have to have the birth certificate, and they have to have the proof of residence. They have to bring that information in. For state laws, we have to have that information on file.
It's important that you have custody information and all that sort
Correct.
of thing these days, isn't it?
Yes.
It also means registration.
This is the registration gateway, and on here we will eventually be putting back on here a link for enrollment update, so that parents have to go in every year at the start of the school year and update their information. Has their telephone number changed? With cell phone numbers, that changes quite often. Do they need to change any of the emergency contacts? Maybe grandma has her cell phone changed, so that can be changed all online. If they have an address change, again, they have to come into the central office, to their central enrollment, and bring that proof of residency in. But all that information has to be updated before they can get their schedules or their locker information.
Debbie has another reminder.
Just be aware that you do need your ID and passwords for the PowerSchool and for the Haiku. Those will get emailed out if you haven't gotten them yet. If you're a new parent, they will be emailed out to you. If your child has been in the district for a while and you don't have those, you can contact me and I can give that to you.
Okay, would you like to give a phone number out for the office?
My number is 248-969-5191.
And there's a lot more to it than that. We'll check in with Debbie for more later. Just a reminder, the Lone Ranger Parade is coming up August 6th. If you're an alumni, parent, or middle school band member and would like to march with our high school band, there's a rehearsal coming up on July 27th in the band room at the high school. That's at 7 p.m. That's the Oxford School Update for this week. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
And welcome back to Oxford News This Week. And I tell you, we are excited about this. Normally in the summer, we don't have much sports, but with this, I tell you, Connor Bandel making great efforts, and his bags are packed and ready to go. Connor Bandel hopes everything goes well as he will depart with Team USA and the mates to the IAAF World U20 Track and Field Championship that takes place in Poland. The international competition, which includes some collegians, is a qualifying of athletes between the ages of 14 and 19 and will feature some from around 160 nations. Bandel, who only a few weeks ago graduated the Oxford High School, will compete in the discus throw as he continues the whirlwind summer competition that has actually taken him from the east to the west coast. Bandel qualified for the squad by winning the discus throw in the USA Junior Championship back in June in Clovis, California. His best toss there, 2:02.7. He won the competition. Only the top two finishers qualify for the team, and that was with a heavier implement, 1.75 kilograms. He placed sixth in the shot put at 63 8 3/4, using a 13.5-pound ball. The standard high school is 12 pounds. The week before, Bandel then won the discus throw at the New Balance Nationals in Durham, North Carolina, with a toss of 2:02.7, but with a lighter 1.6 kilogram disc, the standard weight for the high school implements. Indeed, Bandel has been in the shocking everybody practically wherever he's performed. He became the state's most prolific high school shot putter this season when he launched a throw of 67 2.5 at the Oakland County meet to become the state's all-time leader. He surpassed ex-NFL player T.J. Duckett, who grew up in Kalamazoo, who had previous throws of 67, and he did that way back in 1999. Since then, Bandel has gone on 67 5 3/4 at the state high school championship, 68 10 3/4 at the New Balance Nationals. He placed fourth with his winning toss, 67 4.5. That was in June at the Midwest Meet of Champions. Bandel now owns the top four throws in the shot put in the state high school history. Bandel is also the first high school thrower to win back-to-back Division I state titles in the shot put and discus, and is one of the two throwers in the state history to surpass the 200-foot mark. Colin Prina of Wall Lake, he's competing now at University of Oregon, did this back with a 210-1 set in 2013. Bandel is next at 2:04.2. As a high school junior, Bandel was already an elite thrower. Now he's taken his performance on to the next level. Only 4 other high school athletes nationally have thrown farther than him in both events this season. So far, he's unbeaten in the discus throw in the past 2 seasons, including statewide and national meets, has lost only twice in the shot put during that span. That means a strong belief in belonging with the best of its competitors. Bandel will leave for the University of Florida next month, and then he'll travel on to Poland again, where he will compete on the international level. Our thoughts with him and wish him well. We'll keep on top of that story. Just a reminder, you can catch all the information you need about your athlete, the upcoming athlete. Check it out at oxfordathletics.org. That's their website. And we remind you about that. If you have an athlete that's basically going to be participating in 7 through 12, you'll want to make sure to log on and download their physical form and all the information you'll need for your athlete. It's right there at your fingertips. Again, oxfordathletics.org. You're going to want to have that physical dated by either a doctor, a PA, or RN prior to any competition. While you're on the web, check our website out. It's always there at your fingertips. OCCTV.org. Hit the Programs tab, YouTube tab. You can catch any one of our programs that we produce here right there at your fingertips on the computer, iPad, or phone, wherever you choose to watch. I urge you to watch on the weekends, conventionally on the television, Saturday and Sunday between 1 and 6. We do broadcast our sporting activities. Parks and Rec softball and girls softball all this summer for you. We urge you to stay tuned. That's going to wrap it in sports. Again, onward and upward for Connor Bandel. I'm Jamie Hughes for Oxford Sports. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, automakers have all the tools at their disposal to meet the 54.5 mile per gallon corporate average fuel economy targets for the 2025 model year, but buyer preferences for SUVs and trucks make it likely that the industry will fall short of that number, U.S. regulators said in a report on July 18th. The EPA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and California Air Resources Board released their draft technical assessment report analyzing cost, technology, and other issues involved in the industry's drive toward lowering greenhouse gas emissions. The assessment was scheduled as part of the 2011 agreement to lower emissions in cars and improve fuel economy by the 2025 model year. The report also says that automakers have been able to meet the current regulations for about the same cost or even less than the government projected in 2012. And the report says automakers will be able to meet standards with improvements in standard gasoline engines and won't need to rely heavily on sales of hybrids and electric cars. Even with those positives, government officials said the 54.5 mile per gallon goal is off the table. Lower gasoline prices have kept demand for SUVs, crossovers, and other light trucks higher than originally anticipated, meaning the advances in fuel economy technology won't be reflected fully in the fleet averages, which are sales weighted. Senior administration officials told reporters on a conference call that the 54.5 mile per gallon goal was never a mandate, but more of an estimate of where the industry could be by the 2025 model year. That estimate was based on an assumption that 67% of the market would be cars and 33% would be SUVs, crossovers, pickups, and other light trucks. But customers haven't moved from their desire to buy SUVs, crossovers, and trucks. Now the government estimates the overall average fuel economy will hit between 50 miles per gallon and 52.6 miles per gallon by the 2025 model year. The new estimates assume a more even split between cars and trucks in the marketplace. The report is open to public comment for 60 days, and the EPA will make a final determination on the 2022 to 2025 model year regulations by April 1st, 2018. And at Ford Motor Company used the weight savings from the aluminum body to beef up the capabilities of its Super Duty pickups, which it says will beat the competition in towing, payload, torque, and diesel horsepower ratings. The redesigned F250, F350, and F450 slated to be on sale this fall weigh as much as 350 pounds less than the outgoing models, Ford said. That's about half the weight savings Ford gained by switching the light-duty F-150 from steel to aluminum body panels. Ford said the Super Duty's frame, composed of 95% high-strength steel, is 24 times stiffer than the current generation's frame to support heavier loads and trailers. The F450 Super Crew 4x4 can tow 21,000 pounds with a conventional hitch, 1,000 pounds more than its closest rival, Ford said. Its tow ratings are 32,500 pounds for a gooseneck trailer, 1,290 pounds more than its top competitor, and 27,500 pounds for a fifth-wheel trailer, 2,500 pounds more than any other heavy-duty pickup. The F250 and F350 with a single rear wheel can tow a class-leading 18,000 pounds with a standard hitch, Ford said. Ford said the redesigned Super Duty will be the first pickup to offer adaptive cruise control and a collision warning system for brake control support for trailers up to 32,500 pounds. The maximum gross combined weight rating for an F450 Super Crew 4x4 and a trailer is 41,800 pounds, more than any other heavy-duty pickup and more than half of the weight limit for an 18-wheel semi-tractor trailer on most federal highways. That's a big truck. Payload capacity for the F350 is a class-leading 7,630 pounds, while the F250 can haul 4,200 pounds in its bed, 600 pounds more than any competitor, Ford said. Can't wait to see them come out. And at Honda and Takata Motor Corporation, or Takata Corporation that is, the airbag supplier behind the industry's largest ever recall, routinely manipulated results of an airbag inflator test reported to Honda Motor Company, according to an ongoing audit commissioned by the supplier and its biggest customer. Takata engineers removed some of the test results to artificially reduce variability in airbag inflator performance, Brian O'Neill, a former Insurance Institute for Highway Safety president, said in a phone interview. Takata and Honda jointly hired O'Neill to begin the audit in late October, days before Honda announced findings of data manipulation. Findings of pervasive data manipulation and misrepresentation so the car makers could complicate Takata's efforts to restructure and secure potential buyers following the biggest safety crisis in the auto industry's history. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highway. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.